Good morning, everybody. How are you? Hope that you're doing well. Hope that you're having a good Thursday. It's incredible to me that it's already Thursday. It feels like the week has just gone by so fast. So I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your studies, your work, your classes, whatever you might be doing, your own personal research is going well. Um, yeah, I woke up this morning thinking to myself, geez, it's already Thursday. It doesn't feel like the week has gone by that fast, yet here we are. So glad that we get to spend some more time talking about data science, talking about the things that interest us, keep on building a global community here. So for those of you that are joining us that are new, welcome. I'm still getting a lot of new followers, a lot of new users. We're on the verge of 100,000 on YouTube. For some reason, last night was super active. I run some videos overnight that got a lot of views, and I on YouTube alone, I think I got like 1,600 new followers in 24 hours, which is huge for me. I mean, it used to be 1,000, and then 1,500 was a big day, and now 1,600 in one night. That's crazy. But if you're new, you're not alone, so don't be afraid to introduce yourself. We usually start off with what we call our global roll call, where we ask people to let us know our city, state, province, country. It's a good way to introduce yourself, to carry yourself in a professional way, and also builds the community. And it's a nice way for everybody to participate, keep everything inclusive, right? Sometimes I give an opening note, sometimes I don't. And then other times, and then after that, I'm open to your questions. If you want to ask questions, challenges you're having about your career, your studies, a new technology, whatever the case may be, I'm open to your questions at that point. And then today, I also have an article that we can go over because, I think that there's there's always interesting things coming about AI. So sometimes I do like to go ahead and do that. But then we'll just kind of see where the conversation takes us. I always like that we can just discuss things as they come up. You guys basically set the agenda for me, right? I don't always walk in here with an agenda. So it makes it fun for me. It makes it beneficial for you because you can ask, someone like me for advice, or maybe somebody in the community will help you. But that's really kind of what I want to accomplish today, okay? So we'll do our global roll call. Maybe we'll do an opening note, and then we'll go from there. Just see what happens. I'll welcome your questions there, okay? All right. So I'm already seeing some people filling up my chat, which is great. If you see your chat on your platform, whatever social platform you are, calm down. I promise I'll try to get to it. I rarely miss a question. All right, but again, we give people a chance to introduce themselves, and that way, kind of builds the conversation, builds the community. Okay, but there's no need to post multiple times. If you see it on your chat, I will get to it. Okay. All right. So, no, I think it was Awais. I think it was Muhammad. I think we called you Muhammad. Muhammad, good to see you again. How are you? Hi, Dennis. Hope you're also doing well. Sorry for being absent over 3 weeks. Was busy with some exams and also some family matters. My friend, there's no need to apologize. There's no need to apologize whatsoever. I understand that people, have lives, and, sometimes life gets in the way. But welcome. Glad to have you back. Definitely don't apologize. I've spoken a little bit about this before. And I sometimes get concerned when people apologize when they come back, because I don't want them to feel like this is like a formal class, or I'm going to be mad at them or anything else, because I don't want that feeling to keep people from coming back. Right. So no need to apologize. People can come and go as they can, as their schedule allows them. But I'm just glad you're here and appreciate your support. Thank you so much, Muhammad. And I hope that your family matters are okay. If there's anything that we can do to support you, please let us know. Okay. Okay, over on Instagram, I'm seeing, I think is it Karen? I think it's pronounced Karen. If not, let me know. Karen says, hello, sir. I'm from India pursuing BTech data science. Okay, cool. BTech data science. I'm sorry, but what is BTech? Is that a particular school? Or somebody help me understand what BTech is. I think I have a feeling that's a regional term to India. I just don't know what it is. Shadman, please let us know your city, state, province, country. We always ask people to introduce themselves, okay? Matare, how are you? Hello, Sir Dennis, how are you? And hello to everyone. What a nice greeting. You know, greeting me, greeting the room. Thank you so much for that, Matare. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing very well. You know, yesterday I finished the feed. I went out for a walk with my dog, came back, had some lunch. I kind of had a little bit of a muscle like cramping in my leg during my workout yesterday, so I hope that's much better today. But I'm going to take it a little bit easier today, a little bit shorter today. I did 4 miles yesterday, which is about 6 kilometers, I think, or 7 kilometers, something like that. But yeah, you know, I had a really good day. Really good day. I've been up since 3 a.m. working, so yeah, doing well. But there's a lot of things coming up, guys. A lot of things coming up. So Matari, appreciate your good wishes. Hope that you're doing well also. Osama, our good friend from Morocco, says hello, sir. Hope everything is going well. Everything is going well. How are things going with you? How are things going in Morocco? Hope you're well. Hope that everything is good out there. Hope you and your family are well. But yeah, things are going very well. Thank you. Rex, my most loyal moderator says, good morning, everyone. Hey, Rex, how are you? How's things in New York City? Hope you're doing well. Thought I was going to sneeze there. Excuse me. Denelson, our good friend from LA, says, hello, Sir Dennis. How did everyone's Wednesday turn out? Yeah, good question. If you want to let us know about your Wednesday, how did yesterday go for you? Yeah, but my Wednesday turned out great. You know, you guys are a big part of my day, right? So, you know, I get up early. I have to prepare for you guys. I have to prepare for my business, my clients, things like that. Prepare my content, right? I'm always adjusting content. I'm always filming new content. Right now, yesterday, Denelson, I spent a lot of time preparing for the 100K celebration that's coming up. For those of you that don't know, I'm about to cross 100,000 followers on YouTube. That's probably going to happen sometime next Wednesday, next Thursday, something like that. But I've been preparing different little things that I want to do for it. And yesterday in particular, I was working on a behind the scenes video. And that was pretty cool because, you know, I love that you guys are seeing this stream, and I know I get consistent supporters and people watch it afterwards. So I love that. Thank you so much for your support. But hey, this didn't come together on its own, guys. I mean, I was sitting here in an empty room. There was nothing behind me. The lighting was terrible. I had a cheap microphone. And like I would sit here and practice and and making that behind the scenes video just reminded me of all that. I have like a ton of stuff that I filmed that, you know, I didn't think anybody would see because it's just trash, right? It's just me experimenting with different cameras and stuff. So I was doing that yesterday, Denelson. So that was kind of fun to kind of think about that journey, I guess you could say. Because, you know, I've gotten really positive feedback on my background and the way I deliver items and stuff. And I got my little chat working here so that all the, like this all took a lot of work, you know? So it was nice to remember that. It was nice to remember that yesterday when I was making this behind the scenes video. So I'll be releasing that video soon, you know, when the 100K pops up. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Wednesday turned out great. Hope Wednesday was good for you, Denelson. Is it Allah? Allah, we always ask people to introduce themselves. I see you on Instagram, but we always ask people to let us know their city, state, province, country, okay? And actually, let me post it on Instagram. I just realized I didn't post that. Give me just a second here. Just as a reminder for all my Instagram people to introduce themselves. All right, we should be set there. All right, who was next on my intro? Okay, so Muhammad says BTech, short for Bachelor of Technology, is a degree equivalent to a Bachelor of Science. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I think it was Karen that initially posted that. So Karen, if you had any specific questions or anything else we can help you with, let us know. If you're still on Instagram, you're also welcome to join us over on YouTube. But yeah, thank you for that. Bachelor's in Technology. Yeah, we really don't have those here in the US. We only have, science and arts, usually, right? But thanks for that clarification, Mohammed. Rex says things are awesome in New York City. Nice, nice. Very cool, Rex. I'm glad you're doing well out there. Hope that your analytics program is going well. I've been meaning to ask you about that. But for anybody else that's joining us later, feel free to introduce yourself with your city, state, province, country. Nice way for you to participate in the chat without having to, ask any complex questions or whatnot. So for today, I did have an article in mind that I want to share. I posted it on the Discord yesterday. There's actually two things that I posted on the Discord. So let me talk about the second one really quickly, because that one's a video, not an article. And then we'll go to talking to an article. But then you're also welcome to ask questions if you have your own questions or anything else I can help you with, okay? But there was a really good video that was out on YouTube, and I posted it in our Discord. It was talking about these scientists who were looking to prevent shark attacks on surfers. And there's very little data science involved, but there's a lot of science involved. So I really enjoyed that video and I posted it because all of us as data scientists should still have an appreciation for the scientific method, right? Because that's where data science is rooted. The only difference between us and, like a chemist or a physicist or something is that our tools are data. The way we run experiments is with code, right? But it's very healthy for us to still have an appreciation of when good science is being done. So I liked this particular video, and you're welcome to watch it, because they were talking about preventing shark attacks on surfers. And then they were combining some of their knowledge. This particular team specializes in studying sharks. They know that sharks have terrible vision. They mostly see shapes. They are leaning towards thinking that sharks are also colorblind. So it's possible that sharks only see in black and white. So they see in black and white and they see shapes. So their thinking is that the shark bites that happen are basically kind of happening by mistake, right? Where the shark thinks the surfer is something else. So you have to have an appreciation that, hey, that's a pretty good hypothesis. Hey, they have pretty good domain knowledge because they're taking what they've learned from previous studies and moving it forward, right? And then they said, okay, well, what are some of the things we can try? And what they're doing, or what they're hypothesizing, is that if you were to put lights on the bottom of a surfboard, it would help the sharks understand that is not food, that is something else, right? How did they do that? Well, they took a seal, like a plastic seal, which would typically be food for sharks. Sharks do eat a lot of seals, and they put lights at the bottom of the seal. So in other words, could you could you conceal a seal by putting lights on the bottom of it? And they spent hours and hours dragging this plastic seal in areas where they knew sharks lived. On top of that, they also experimented with the angle of the lights. And they mention that horizontal lights seem to prevent more of the bites, of the attacks. They also played with the brightness of the lights. Should it be a subdued color, maybe more of like that yellow white, or should it be like a bright white, a very strong white? They experimented with that too, right? The angle of the lights, the intensity of the lights. I'm assuming they also did something around the number of the lights. And now they're going to carry that forward into doing it for a surfboards, because right now they're doing it behind a seal. But now what happens if you can do it on a surfboard? So you could have this whole new innovation in surfing of, adding lights to the bottom of a surfboard to help you prevent shark attacks. How great is that? Right? So not a lot of data science. There's no code involved. This is all coming from the world of, sea biology. But as data scientists, it's still healthy for us to say, hey, that's still pretty good science happening. I can appreciate their methodology. They're following a good methodology, right? And we can all learn from that. We can all appreciate that. So if you're part of our Discord, please check out that video, because I thought it was a really, really well done video. That as a data scientist, you should really have appreciation for. And by the way, if you do look at that video and you don't see the parallels to data science, or you sit there and you ask yourself, well, what does this have to do with Python? What does this have to do with Visual Studio Code or something? Then those are probably the wrong questions, right? Because you're thinking about the tools instead of the process of science. So I would encourage you to look at that video. If you feel a tie to it, if you feel an affinity to it, then that's a good thing. That's a positive sign. And if you don't, then maybe you should kind of reevaluate how you want to approach data science in the future. Okay? But really good video, really good way to look at an implementation of the scientific method. Okay, so Rex shares with us, the program is going well, learning lots. Can't wait to put it all into practice. Thanks for asking. Cool, Rex. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Are you saying pythons can also eat seals and attack surfers? That's funny. I am scared of snakes. I hate seeing snakes out in the wild. I've lived in desert areas for a long time. So, I've seen snakes in the wild, and I am not a snakes guy. I'm certainly not a python guy in real life, right? But yeah, good question, Rex. All right, so again, if you're just joining us, please let us know your city, state, province, country. Good way for you to introduce yourself. But short of that, I'm ready to go on to the article I had planned. You can also find this in the Discord. So here we go. I found this yesterday via YouTube. No, I can't remember. I think it was YouTube. I found it via. So let me refresh. Okay. So this is an article talking about 23andMe. Real quick, Khalif, greetings of the day. Hope you are doing good, Sir Dennis. All is good, Denelson. Yeah, thank you, Khalif. Glad to see you. Hope that everything is great on your end and you and your family are safe. Okay. So first of all, let's start with some definitions here. What is 23andMe? For those of you that don't know, 23andMe is one of these, new companies that has popped up, where if you collect a DNA sample, it's usually like a swab in your mouth, a certain amount of spit from your mouth. I think some companies also collect hair. You put it in their little packaging. You can see it in the video here. You put it in their little packaging and then you send it back, and then they will provide you a report of your background, of your DNA background, where your ancestors are from, things like that. In addition, some of these companies will also tell you like some health risks or health factors that are in your genes or whatnot. Just different types of things that relate to your body, your health, maybe some future projections, things that you're genetically disposed to, stuff like that. So these companies, there's a couple of them. I think there's at least 3 or 4. They're here in the US. I don't know if they're popular in other parts of the world. You're welcome to tell me in the chat if you've heard of these companies or not. But they're pretty popular here in the US. I remember a couple years ago, my colleagues were really into this, and they were telling each other, yeah, go get your testing done, go get your testing done. Personally, I never got this done because, as most of you can probably already figure out, you're giving up data, right? You're giving up your DNA data, because what they do is they take that oral swab or your hair, and then they map out your DNA, and then that's how they give you the results, right? Your DNA most closely matches, these other cultures and regions of the world, so on and so forth. And by the way, they use machine learning for some of that. That is a machine learning effort in a lot of cases for them, because they do use your data to help their models. Personally, I always thought it was a little bit weird, because you're kind of giving up your most intimate data, right? I mean, it's really hard for you to think about more intimate data than what your DNA makeup is, right? And I think it's also, I'm not an expert in these things, but I think it's also enough data where somebody in the future, I don't think it's possible now, but in the future, somebody could clone you, right? You're giving up enough DNA data where somebody could clone you. And I wasn't 100% comfortable with that, And if that makes me sound like somebody who's like a conspiracy nut job or whatever, I'm sorry. But, I'm not comfortable with giving up that information, right? So I personally made a decision to not participate in these DNA testing things. But some people do. It's very popular, right? So now the question becomes, what happens to the data when those companies go out of business? 23andMe is facing some financial struggles. I believe they declared bankruptcy. I can't remember if they no, they haven't. Sorry. They are saying that they are facing financial struggles, but they have not filed bankruptcy. So I want to be accurate in that. I don't want to misstate anything. So they announced Monday it would lay off 40% of its workforce. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, right? About 200 employees. Okay, so that means their workforce is what? 500 people, right? Yeah, 40%. Yeah, so that means they have 500 people. 200 of them now walked out without a job, right? That's a lot of people. A lot of people all of a sudden find themselves, out of work. And it closed its drug development arm in an attempt to cut costs. So that's a little scary, right? I mean, first of all, why do they have a drug arm to begin with? Because they're using your data to predict what ailments, what drugs you will need in the future, right? So they're using your data in a very, again, I wish I could come up with a different word, but to me it feels very intimate, very private, that they would use that data to market healthcare to you, right? So, why does a company like this have a drug arm? Well, I mean, they have a drug arm because ultimately these companies are for-profit entities, right? There's no altruism in this. right? You know, sometimes it's shocking to me how much altruism people assign to companies. If they're out to make a profit, they will find a way to make a profit regardless of anything, right? So Rex, thank you for contributing to the conversation. Rex says a lot about the general's population level of data literacy. Yeah, Rex. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Rex, because people just aren't thinking ahead. They're not thinking ahead to, well, what does it mean when I give up my data like that? Right? And in this case, we're not talking about just giving up your home address or something like that. We're talking about giving up your most personal information, right? It's who you are, right? Leo says, hi everyone, good morning. Leo, so good to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. It's been a couple days, but hope you're well. Leo, just like Rex, is one of my great moderators, so always good to have more moderators in the chat. So appreciate you being here, Leo. Hope you're well. So Leo, we're talking about 23andMe, you know, which is one of the genetic testing companies. And by the way, I would love to hear from people in other countries outside the US if this is a thing in their countries. I have a feeling it might be just US, but let me know. Let me know if these companies exist in your part of the world. I'm genuinely curious about that. Okay, so does anybody see? So Rex, going back to Rex's point about data literacy, and I want you to think of yourself as a data scientist. Okay. Maybe even think of just, well, you know, that's all I'm going to say. Think about yourself as a data scientist, okay? Financial struggles of 23andMe. They have customers' DNA. 200 employees were let go, and they closed their drug development arm in an attempt to cut costs, okay? From a data science perspective, or even like a 23andMe perspective, there's something in those points, and just in the opening paragraph, just those 4 points we just talked about, that are super, super concerning to me. Does anybody else see something that's a big concern in this? Does anybody want to kind of take a guess? So Muhammad says they use this data to test new medicines, such as determining whether a particular drug has any negative effects on specific racial groups or other factors. Muhammad, do you know that for a fact? They use this data to test new how would they do that? Help me understand that, Muhammad. I'm not sure if I'm on board with that. Because how would you do that just from DNA data? I mean, you'd have to be replicating humans with that exact same DNA to do those tests, wouldn't you? Or maybe I'm just misunderstanding your statement. Let me know, Muhammad. Michael, our good friend Michael from Lago says, greetings, Sir Dennis and everyone. Greetings to you too, Michael. Hope you're doing well out there in Nigeria. I agree with you and Rex, but you also need to factor in the sentiments involved in giving out such data, particularly for African Americans and their history in the US. Sure. I agree with you, Michael, right? There's lots of things that can come of this, right? I mean, it's a deep rabbit hole, right? That you can go down when you're talking about stuff like this, right? Because you're right, there are some cultures and ethnicities that have a history that comes into play. My mind tends to go to like future scenarios where, what if they're selling this information to insurance companies and they don't want to insure you because you're more likely to have cancer, you know, later on in life, that they don't want to pay for, right? You've told a third party that you are likely to develop cancer. Well, they can sell that information, right? And they know your name, they know your address, right? So Leo, I'm giving that answer because I kind of read ahead to your question. But Leo asks, what are your concerns regarding companies owning genetic data? Yeah, Leo. I mean, I understand that some people do kind of take a much more freewheeling attitude than I do about it. I totally concede that. But I really think that there are some uses that probably most people don't want or don't understand. Or if they understood them, they wouldn't want them, right? But I think that there is, a lot of value in any data, and that data gets resold and gets used in a variety of ways that most people don't know about, right? I mean, they could be selling this to insurance companies. So, things like that kind of concern me. But you let me know, Leo. You might not share the same concern, and that's okay, right? Manoj says, Namaste, Sir Dennis, and everyone. Manoj from Bangalore, India. Manoj, so good to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope that life's treating you well out there in Bangalore. So, Manoj, we're talking about 23andMe, and right now, the question in front of the chat is, in the first paragraph, we have a financially struggling company, 200 employees laid off. They closed its drug development lab, and we know that they have a lot of genetic data, right? Anybody alarmed by one of those items? And, I want you to think about it from a lens of a data scientist. And you know what? I'll give you guys a hint. More specifically, I want you to think about it from the lens of a data science manager. What do you guys think? Anything stand out to you there? Anybody have any thoughts? Muhammad says, I'm not entirely sure, but I recall reading that some medicines aren't very effective for certain groups. Reason for this is there's limited data on those groups. Okay. There are also some guidelines on the importance of diversity in clinical trials on the FDA website. Yeah, okay. Can't post one. Yeah, that's fine, Muhammad. Post as many comments as you need to. Well, Muhammad, I guess you're right in the sense that they could be looking for certain DNA makeups that they want to test against, but then they would have to sell your information to say, hey, Mr. Drug Company, Mr. Pharmaceutical Company, I can give you a list of 5,000 people that have this very difficult to find genetic makeup, right? And then that company could reach out to you. But then you've given up a lot of privacy, right? You've given up a lot of privacy on that genetic makeup. Or as in the previous example about cancer, right? There could be companies out there that are buying this data to find people that are likely to develop cancer or something. I mean, is everyone comfortable with their data being sold that way? I don't know if I would be, right? I mean, that's kind of a personal thing. What do you guys think? Leo says, oh, I see, that's valid. I don't know how regulation will work on that case, if they'd be allowed to do that. Well, they are allowed to do that because you probably sign away your rights in some of these waivers, right? Because again, that's the part where they're not altruistic, right? They're just in it for the profit, and the profit is in reselling the data. Yeah, guys, in case you don't know this, the resale of data, the data brokers that are out there, huge business. Huge business. So they're not in the 23andMe, genetic testing business. They're in the data resale business, right? That's what 23andMe is. They're a data resale company. Their marketing materials aren't going to tell you that, but their money is in reselling the data. It's no different than like your phone, like all those free games and those free apps. They're not in the game business. They're in the data business, right? Selling your data, your location, your habits, your patterns, right? So 23andMe is no different to that, right? Rex, great comment. Yeah, according to the article, the transaction between 23andMe and their customers is commercial, not medical. Yeah, absolutely. It's a commercial effort. It's not a medical effort. It's not an altruistic effort. It's not even a fun effort, right? It's really commercial, right? Khalif says, I agree with both of you, Sir Dennis. Thank you, Khalif. Michael says, the resignation and security of people's data have stood out the most to me. Michael, you're on the right track, my friend. Matare says, to my own perspective, sir, I think as the company is facing financial struggles, while it has this kind of data that can be used by other companies, I can say the probability is high of selling the data. Absolutely, Matare. Absolutely. It probably says so in the disclaimers that you sign. Those big, long disclaimers that everybody just kind of scrolls through? It's in there without a doubt, right? Okay, so coming back to Michael's comment, and also coming back to everybody's comment, because we're talking about selling the data, right? But wait a minute. What if the data isn't sold? What if it's stolen? Because that's what that was the answer, right? That Michael was approaching and that I was looking for. This is the part right here that scares me. You just let go of 40% of your staff. 200 people were just told they're not getting a paycheck tomorrow. That is like the recipe for a data breach, right? So again, you, the data science manager, right? Data is your domain at this company. How are you assuring that one or more of these 200 people aren't walking with your data? Super important. Now, I understand that most of you are still early in your careers, but I bring this up because I get followers from all levels, and because you guys will eventually be managers too, right? But for me, as a chief data scientist, as like a people manager and all that stuff, this is the stuff that I worry about, right? I don't always worry about the day-to-day coding. I have a staff for that. But 200 people just got laid off? How do you make sure that data doesn't get stolen? How do you make sure that this data doesn't end up on like on Pirate Bay or whatever the latest hacking piracy website is, right? Like that's a problem, right? Again, we think of ourselves as data professionals, right? That's what I encourage. So as a data professional, that should jump out at you. You are at a data-rich company with very unique data, and you just let 40% of your people leave. 200 people just left. They're not all going to be happy, obviously, right? What do you do then? How do you protect that data? Super critical to have those types of conversations. Leo says, yeah, but imagine that we also have a company developing a new drug to inhibit cancer on people predisposed to that. That would be a good thing. What do you think? Yeah, but Leo, but then they'd have to be selling your personal information with that, right? Because 23andMe would have to identify you as, being in that potential sample group. They sell it to a pharmaceutical company, but they also sell your personal information. And then that pharmaceutical company, a complete third party to you, right? You're going to get like an email or a call out of the blue saying, hey, Leo, how are you? We have this drug study and you might be an ideal candidate. Well, how do you know I'm an ideal candidate? Well, because we know what your DNA looks like. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Like, I don't know if that makes me comfortable. Now, Leo, I don't want to make your argument for you, right? But you could say, well, it's for the greater good, right? Because if you can help society as a whole and prevent this cancer for thousands of other people, then maybe that's okay, right? I could kind of see that argument, but it seems just like really intimate, right? Really personal to me. Like your most private data is just like being bought and sold like nothing, right? But again, I'm willing to concede that maybe I'm too chicken or whatever you want to say. But let me know, Leo. I mean, are you okay with somebody out of the blue calling you? Hi, Leo. This is Dennis. I'm your friend at Pfizer. And we at Pfizer care about you. And you know what, Leo? You're gonna die because you have cancer. And we know you have cancer, even though you don't know you have cancer. But we have this new drug, experimental, and the drug might kill you too, but it might also save you. Would you like to talk to your good friends at Pfizer about participating in a study? I don't know, Leo. I don't know, Leo. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the person for that. Muhammad says revenge data breach. Yeah, absolutely, Muhammad. It's very unique data, right? Very unique data. I assume there would be black market buyers for this, right? How do you do that? How do you prevent that? And again, I'm asking for as you guys, you are now a data science manager. I promoted you to data science manager. That should be like your concern. Like when I read this article, I thought, oh my God, 200 people. That's bad. That's bad for business. That's bad for your data, right? Leo says, no, no, you're biased, too evil to call. But Leo, I used my friendly voice, my friendly, non-threatening voice just to get you to say yes. Because your friends at Pfizer love you. Okay, but you know what? I do recognize that Leo is correct. I am biased, right? You know, usually, you know, I don't always have the highest regard for-profit entities out there, right? Because there's no altruism in business. Business is about profits, right? So I'll just leave it at that. Don't let me bias you guys, right? I'm just pulling up articles of things that I find interesting, right? But again, thinking ahead, you will be in a data science profession management role at some point. This is what jumped out at me from a management perspective. What are the risks and controls that they have in order to prevent that? Because to me, that's bad, right? Huge risks in that, right? Matari says, yeah, this might be not good. Yeah, Matari, right? I mean, you know, danger, right? Patil or Karan says, "Hey Dennis, I'm from India. Welcome, Karan. Nice to see you. Hope that you're doing well." Yeah, Karan, I think, did I answer your question previously? Well, no. I said if you have a question, you know, you're welcome to ask, or you can just listen along the conversation. You can also join us on YouTube so you can see the entire article. But right now we're discussing an article on 23andMe and some of their data. So you're welcome to join us. But glad you're here. Okay. Khalif, the jokes are coming fast today, so you got to let us know what made you laugh. Okay. Okay. Leo says, if I was the CEO of 23andMe, I would approach my clients with that possibility. If they'd say yes, they would agree on being approached by such a Pfizer lovely call. Leo, I'm guessing you've already given up those rights. If you're a 23andMe customer, I'm gonna go ahead and say that they probably already included that in all of their disclaimers, right? They already included that you know, they can share your data with third-party vendors and other affiliates, or, you know, however they put it, right? That basically means they can sell it, because share means that they can also sell it, right? Share does not mean that they are private about it, or they don't charge or anything like that. Okay, so my guess is they've already done it. They don't turn around and ask those types of things. They just include it in their disclaimers. It's better than denying it and making it hidden. But they don't view it as hiding it. Like if you were to talk to them, they tell you signed the disclaimer, didn't you? I mean, that's probably it, right? No, I didn't use 23andMe. Someone else. Yeah, but that's the same thing, right? It's the same data brokers. They're just buying it up from multiple companies. Yeah, to me, the key is to not to participate in at the beginning, right? Leo says, what would piss me off is if I start to receive advertisements based on my genetic information. But you will, Leo. You will. You 100% will. Right? That's probably their biggest customer. Pharmaceutical companies that say, "Hey, find me all people with asthma. I have a new asthma product that I want to push." I'd be surprised if that doesn't already happen. And Leo, here's another one that we should also talk about, guys. I don't think that 23andMe does it, but another one of them does, where they will also help you find relatives. Because based on your DNA, they can tell who's related to who. Oh, this is a son of somebody, this is a cousin of somebody, this is a daughter of somebody. They can do that because they have a broad base of DNA samples. And I want to say there's been at least 2 cases, but in one of the cases, it was a person who was an anonymous sperm, did anonymous sperm donations, where they wanted to be, the provider of the sperm, to be a father, and other people, other couples, individuals would buy it and have babies. Well, because of these tools. And by the way, the whole point of doing those types of donations is that you want to remain anonymous, right? But now these tools can make it so that it will group people like that and say, oh, you're the father of so-and-so, but they don't know each other in real life. They were never supposed to know each other in real life because one or both sides wanted that anonymity, right? So that's also happening, Leo, where those connections are being made, even though one or both people may not desire them. So so I'm looping that back to your example, Leo, because in that scenario, the pharmaceutical company wants to know you, but you may not want them to know about you, right? Or when you first came in, as I said, what about insurance companies? What if they're making decisions based on this? Or another thing, guys, I'd love feedback on this, because it's not common here in the U.S. In the U.S., we don't allow doctor examinations, health examinations for jobs. But I know that that's common in foreign countries. In foreign countries, there are companies who can send you to the doctor for an examination. We don't allow that in the U.S. That's a foreign concept to us. But, in other countries that is allowed. So what if the company is using these DNA tests to say, we'll hire this person, but not hire that person? That's not so great, right? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Because again, I'm not trying to put myself as an expert on that. But I do know that other countries, other cultures, it's okay to send your employees for health checks. We don't do that in the US. So Denelson says, I've always wanted to know how much my info is worth to the broker. Can I buy it back? I don't know the first answer, Denelson. Buying it back, I don't think that's possible. Because it's like putting a picture on the internet, right? Once it's out there, and it spreads, right? So just because you buy it from one broker doesn't mean you've got it from all brokers. Like you'd have to go back to all the previous customers, right? Yeah, like I don't think it's possible, Denelson. Like once it's spread, you're done. Like you're done. It's a one-way door. Leo says that scares me. I always have this fear of having kids abroad. Yeah, Leo, and that's happened. You know, if you Google that, you'll find many stories of that. Maybe not abroad, because again, I don't know how popular these are overseas. But within the U.S. and North America, there have been cases where people find each other where maybe they didn't want to be found, right? So I think it's a legitimate scare that you're having there, Leo, because I think that it can happen, right? Just a character on Instagram. This is definitely a live video. And we always ask people to introduce themselves. So let us know your city, state, province, country, okay? Omar on Instagram, same for you. We ask people to introduce themselves. So let us know your city, state, province, country, okay? Okay, so Tej said, Tej, first of all, welcome. Good to see you again, my friend. Always encouraging when people come back. Thank you so much, Tej. Hi, Dennis. I have a question about what kind of technical skills would a data science manager need to have? How would these skills be different from those of a data scientist? So Tej, great question. I'm assuming it's because, I mentioned the management side just now. So Tej, it's actually less technical, right? Generally speaking, the higher you get up in management, the less technical your role would be. That's not always the case for data science managers, because as I tell you guys, the teams are small. So it's very common where a data science manager also needs to carry their own collection of technical projects that they're working on, right? But that will change as data science adoption grows, as staffs grow, right? More qualified professionals. So for me, with my management experience, it's a lot more about good communication, good ideas, and vetting out ideas for projects. That's a huge part of management. Presentations to upper management, to people above you, right? Because again, not everybody knows what data science is, what it can do, all that. A lot of mentoring of your first year data scientists, your summer interns, whatever. So a lot of mentoring. And resources, procurement of resources, right? How do you keep your team working with enough data, enough storage space, enough processing power to get your projects done, right? Because one of those is always an issue, right? At any given time, right? So that's that's not a technical skill, that's a people skill, but very important, right? Lots of hand-to-hand combat in that one, right? So yeah, so that's what I would tell you, that you're going to be a lot less technical and a lot more like diplomatic, I guess is the best word that comes to mind. But it's a lot of hand-to-hand combat when you're more in management, okay? So for something like this, 200 employees are about to go away, I want to know about that ahead of time. And I would have already done some management work to put in some controls in place to help people have the ability to download data or move data to disk or something, right? Like you would already have a lot of work in place to do that. You'd want to be involved in the laying off to make sure that it's executed in a good way, right? So that's what I would tell you, Tej. Hope that helps. Let's see. Leo says that's eugenics. Yeah, sure. Although I think eugenics is more about like the actual prevention of birth, right? But yeah, it's definitely along those lines, Leo, for sure. Get me the best gene for this role. Yeah. But that happens in foreign countries. Yeah, I don't know how many of my US followers, because I know I have quite a few US followers. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but in other countries, like it's routine for you to have a medical examination on a yearly basis because your job requires it. And they tell your employer what your height is, what your weight is, stuff like that. Like that's a completely accepted practice, right? So yeah, not common in the US. I mean, you'd probably have a big lawsuit on your hand if you did that, right? Leo says, sounds fun, but if we have 2 more generations of Elon Musk, we might get to that scenario. Well, he has a lot of kids, so we might get those 2 generations, Leo. Yeah, we may very well reach that scenario, and I'm not sure how comfortable I am with that, right? You know, it's really not my cup of tea, you know? Rohit, welcome. I see you on Instagram. We always ask people to introduce themselves. So let us know your city, state, country, province, okay? Tej says, thank you. Well, I hope it helped, Tej. Good question. Is there, Rex asks, is there room at the top for people who'd like to stay technical? What do you mean by top? Right? People have different definitions of top. Some people just want to be left alone to work. Others are okay leading a small team, like a lead data scientist, and that's all they want to do. Others want to be a chief data scientist, right? So it depends on how you define top, Rex. But if you want to be at the very, very top, you shouldn't be technical. If you're at the very top and you're doing a lot of technical work, then you haven't delegated enough and you're probably a poor leader, right? Because you should be getting to the top with enough staff support where you shouldn't have to code, right? You shouldn't have to know every single technical detail. Now, I would still keep up with like trends and techniques so that I could mentor my staff, because I do like mentoring my staff, right? You know, and every data scientist gets stuck at some point, right? We all get stuck. So that was more of my approach, but you shouldn't be able to both do like a top leadership job and be technical. That means you don't trust your staff, right? Like you're not delegating enough. So Rex, it's really just more like you redefining what you want as top if you want to stay technical, right? Because that's what I'm assuming from your question, right? If you really want to stay technical, then great. Then just, you know, become a lead data scientist and stop there. And I've had some situations where I've seen that come up, where somebody says, no, this is as far as I want to go. Like, don't promote me. I just want to sit here, and I got my 3 other little data scientists that I lead, and I'm good at what I do, and that's it. I don't want to be promoted. Just leave me here, right? So that happens, right? Where people will just say that. Or, you know, like, you know, if I think about my career and some of my other colleagues that were at the same level that I was, for me, my next step would have been to like director, right? And I had plenty of colleagues at my level who said, no way, I never want to be a director. I just want to stay here. I got my staff. You know, this is where I want to retire. Like, people would retire at my level. So it just depends. It just depends like how far up, where your top is, Rex. But good question. Leo says, at this point, your number 1 fan has cloned himself already. Okay, cool. Thanks, Leo. Appreciate that. But I think you're going to have to fight Rex for that title, because Rex also showed me some good AI stuff that he was looking at that was cloning podcasts and stuff. So, but yeah, I appreciate that, Leo. Thank you. Okay, so Rohit shares that I am from Nepal. Cool. Thank you so much. We have a couple of people from Nepal. Yeah, my analytics show a couple of people from Nepal. So thanks for that, Rohit. Good to see you. Muhammad says, checkups aren't strictly required, but if you want your employer to fully cover your health insurance, they often make them a prerequisite. Okay. But Muhammad, isn't that worrying? Because if that's a prerequisite, then isn't that also a well, Well, I mean, they're basically giving you a yes/no answer, right? And the no means you're fired, or that you don't have a job, right? So I don't know. That's not something, you know. And I'm open to somebody telling me, hey, this is just a cultural thing, right? But in the U.S., we don't allow that. So it's possible that I'm just giving you like that biased view. But that's not something that a lot of people, you know, in all parts of the world would feel comfortable with, right? So I hear you, Muhammad, but it's kind of scary to think about what that actually means, right? But, you know, I'm open that it's a cultural thing, right? The world is a big and diverse place. So Rohit, I'm going to come back to your question. I want to stay on the topic that we're talking about with 23andMe, okay? But I do want to get to your question. Leo says, Dennis, what do your analytics show about US? For some reason, I get a lot of viewers on the East Coast of the US and some viewers on the West Coast. But I'm really big in every big East Coast city. So New York, Miami, DC, and then Chicago, Dallas, and then that's it. For some reason, like I'm popular over there, but on the West Coast, I think I'm just too early because right now it's 7 a.m. for me on the West Coast. So that's why I appreciate Denelson who pops in because I know it's early for him. But I just don't get a lot of West Coast people. But that's what my analytics say. That basically everything like east of Chicago, I have and Dallas, I have followers. But for some reason, the West Coast, no love for Dennis on the West Coast. But yeah, that's what my analytics say about the US. Also, and my analytics say that women is my largest growing demographic. I have gone from like 2% women to 25% women in over the summer, basically. So that's been interesting too. My female viewership has gone up quite a bit. It's my fastest growing group. And most of my viewers are males under 34 years old. So if that fits you, congratulations, you're in the majority. But the overwhelming number of my users are males under 34 years old. So yeah, that's my analytics in a nutshell there. Okay, so Rohit asks, I am thinking of starting contributing in open source. How would you approach doing it as a beginner? You'd have to define beginner, Rohit. How much of a beginner are you? And then you'd have to ask yourself, is that the right time for you to contribute to open source? Maybe, maybe not, right? Maybe this is the time to learn instead of contributing to open source. Because contributing to open source, if it's a well done project, is not always easy, guys. Right? It's not always easy. Most of my open source contributions have been to Keras. You know, I do like the Keras product, as most of you know. But it's far from easy to contribute to them. Super satisfying when they accept your pull request, right? Because, you know, it's nice for you to contribute, but like it's hard, right? So I don't know, Rohit. You'd have to give me a lot more information. Like what's your motivation to begin with for open source? Why not? If you're a beginner, you should just be studying on your own. Forget the cloud, forget this, forget what you read online. Just set up an IDE and set up a console and execute your commands. Learn the fundamentals of data science. Leo says, "Where's our New York City people?" I get viewers in New York City. You know, I get quite a few in New York City. But you know, it doesn't matter where people are from. I appreciate their support. Appreciate their, you know, them viewing and all that. You know who I also really appreciate is the people who view these live streams afterwards. My streams get a lot of views after all of us are done. So even though it's not like live, your chats are being seen by other people later on. You know, they just watch them. Like, boggles my mind that it happens. And you know what's really funny, guys, is, you know, like, you know, you get alerts when somebody responds to your videos, right? Like when they put in a comment, right? YouTube sends you an alert. And a lot of times I get like, I'll just get like a random answer. Like it'll be like a random comment that I don't understand. Like what? Why did this person write this? What? And I'll go back and I'll click on the comment so I can see the video and I can see the comment. And the reason I don't understand their comment is because they are replying to something I said on a live stream, and they are replying as if they were watching in real time. Believe it or not, that happens a lot. Like, I will get people who are answering questions that I am talking about on a replay of a live stream. Like, that boggles my mind. But yeah, but watch what you say in the chat. Somebody might reply to it 4 days from now. Muhammad says, if you don't provide the medical checkup report, your employer won't cover your health insurance. That's the condition. You can work, but you won't have the insurance coverage paid by your employer. Yeah, but Muhammad, come on. They're using that information for other things too, though, right? Like, you might go get the health checkup, get them to cover you for that year, but then they're looking to fire you the next year, right? Like, there's no way they're not using that information for other purposes down the road, right? Like that's a reasonable expectation, yeah. Leo says, I think you should do it without expecting anything else back once it comes to open source. When it comes to open source, and I don't see many ML or DS projects open source. I'm with you on the first part, but not the second part. I think there's plenty of machine learning and data science that are open source. I mean, I'm judging just by what I've seen on GitHub, right? Now, I will concede that a lot of them are just kind of variations on each other, but there's plenty of Python libraries, as an example, that are out there as open source. Yeah. So I think there's some to choose from, but again, it won't be easy, right? Like, beginners think, when beginners usually talk to me about open source, what they usually mean is, well, I'll just try some of the easy items and I'll just, fix some of the easy bugs or the easy notes or whatever, right? But most products are mature enough where there are no easy items, right? Or you have to know that product pretty well in order to, contribute to the code base in a meaningful way. Like, when I first made my contribution to Keras, I was already a very, very experienced developer, and I had been a data scientist for like 4 years or something like that, right? Like, I went into it with eyes open, knowing that it wasn't going to be like a cakewalk, right? So that's why I gave that advice, because if you're a beginner, it's like, are you really ready for that? Like, are you really ready to take on a big feature request and not screw up the code base? Like, do you know what Jenkins is? Like, be aware of what you're getting into. You're not just going to go in there and fix a couple of easy bugs. There are no easy bugs, right? So that's really kind of more what I meant by that, Leo. That just be careful. Right? But I appreciate your view. Thank you, Leo. Rex says, hello, people watching the rerun. That's funny. Yeah, Rex, why don't you go ahead and post your home address and phone number so people on reruns can talk to you later, okay? I'm telling you guys, it's so weird. Like, I'll just get like the most random notification. I'm like, what is that person talking about? And they're sitting there replying to the chat. Leo says, well, that happened to me days ago. I was telling you your mic wasn't working. I know which day you're referring to. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's funny, Leo. If you were doing that during a rerun, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Khalif says, what if one puts more effort to do that? I thought open source will get you exposure to more than you expect. Would you suggest someone who has grasped the basics to give it a try? Khalif, I think you wrote that before I gave my last answer, but there's not a lot of low-hanging fruit, right? There's not a lot of low-hanging fruit out there. Like, you know, go out on, like, go and find an open source Python library on GitHub. Most of them will have a feature list or a bug list that they're looking, you know, for contributors for. Go find me something that a beginner could handle. Very, very rare that happens. For me, my contributions have been from, hey, you know, I really work with this library a lot, and I keep on running into this little bug, this little feature, or this little forget that I say bug or feature. I shouldn't have said that. Of a little need or a little twist that I need in the code. And then I go out to the documentation, I verify that it's not there, and then I go and I propose it and I say, hey, I use your library, I like it. Do you think it would be okay for me to write this? And then they say yes or no, and then I go and do it, right? But, you know, that's not beginner, right? And I'm saying that because I'm saying that as a display that you should kind of have these open source contributions like organically, right? Because you're a big user of the library, because you know the product already, right? You shouldn't be hunting on GitHub just because you want to have more green boxes on your chart, right? Like that's not good, right? Like that's not a positive use of your time, right? And, you know, and like I've told you guys before, like what are you doing? You're trying to outcode the world? There's always somebody who's going to be better at coding than you, right? So to me, pursuing like a resume, a job, exposure, whatever via code, it's a losing battle, right? You're trying to drain the ocean. There's always somebody who's better at coding than you. So I mean, yeah. You're much better off writing something, putting a study together. I mean, that shows a lot more about your personality, your creativity, your individuality, right? So that's where I would put my time. So, but you know, if you guys want to prove me wrong, you know, go find me a GitHub that has like an easy feature request to implement. Very, very hard to find, right? Like most libraries, most projects are like mature enough where there are no easy feature requests. Okay, what if you were to look at the bug list? Well, but the bug list is coming from code that somebody else wrote, somebody more advanced than you. Maybe the founder of the project wrote that code. And now you're going to go in there and tell them you know how to fix it as a beginner? Bold statement, right? So yeah, guys, I mean, I hate to sound so discouraging about this, but you know, there's other ways. There's other ways for you to show your skills, show your creativity. Data science is a lot more than open source. It's a lot more than just programming, right? You guys know I tell you that, right? So keep that in mind, right? Lots of other ways to show your capabilities. Lots of other ways. Why worry about some green boxes? And by the way, if you want to make yourself known, go screw up somebody's code base, right? Or go submit a bad pull request. They'll ask you to not do that anymore, right? Why don't you go work on somebody else's project? And what does that do to your reputation, right? Reputation matters, right? Hugo, welcome. Hi, I'm from Brazil. Good to see you, Hugo. So speaking of analytics, I'd love getting more viewers from South America. So thanks so much for being here. If there's anything we can help you with, Hugo, let us know. But right now we're just having general chat. We were talking about the 23andMe article, about data and genetic data and what that means. But yeah, welcome. Glad you're here. All right, guys. So last call for questions before we wrap up. Great conversation, right? We didn't even get to the whole article, but I think you guys can see why this kind of caught my eye, right? Lots of concerns when a company is having financial struggles, when a company has to, lay people off, right? How do you secure that data? Who is your data going to get sold to next? What if a pharmaceutical company buys 23andMe? So Leo, coming back to your question about, well, they could just ask me or they could approach me about my data. What if Pfizer ends up buying 23andMe? They're not going to ask you if they can use their data. They just bought it, right? So what if that was the case? We didn't kind of talk about that. But 23andMe is basically up for sale, right? Like you just lost, what was it, 40% of your staff. Like, of course you're listening to buy offers, right? So yeah, lots of stuff to think about here, guys. And also, as I said, check out the video on the Discord about the sharks and the LED lights. I thought it was really good stuff. So really, really good video for you to learn from. OMG, Dennis being Dennis, now picturing the worst scenario. Why you gotta make me feel bad like that? Now I feel bad. Guys, I'm just trying to give you guys a real world view, okay? And I recognize that I'm expressing some of my biases. I'm just an old man who's lived a long and colorful life. I'm just trying to share my knowledge. And if you guys want to say, "Oh, that Dennis guy doesn't know what he's talking about," that's okay. That's okay. I'm sharing my biases. I get it. But just keep it in mind. I'm just a tired old man. I shake my fist at the clouds. I wear an onion on my belt, but I'm just trying to share my knowledge. Okay. Rex says, hard not to think this company is up for sale, especially with all the data they collect. Yeah, absolutely, right? They're going to find a buyer, right? That data is worth a lot to somebody. And Leo, to your point, like with the pharmaceutical companies, you can at least say like it's a greater good. Like we can prevent more cancers for maybe not for you, but for future generations, future people. Okay, I kind of get that. But what if it's an insurance company that buys them? What other purpose could they have other than, hey, we might raise rates on you, right? So think about that. Leo says that's okay. I'll be here for when Pfizer calls. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, like they say, right? True geniuses are never recognized in their time, right? That's this guy. So Leo, about 20 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, you're going to get that call and you're going to say, what? Dennis was right. What the? Oh gosh, who knows? Who knows, guys? All right. Well, look, I really appreciate all the conversation. Appreciate all the feedback. I think we had some good discussion. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. As always, lots of craziness going on in the world. Don't sell your DNA data. But please take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll see you next time.